Last night, our drones struck one of the largest oil refineries in Russia, and this is already the 9th time it has been hit since the beginning of the year. A series of explosions occurred in the area of the complex, and a fire broke out there. Well, the debris from one of the drones due to the work of Russian air defense damaged a nearby apartment building. In total, explosions occurred in at least 7 Russian regions. The local Ministry of Defense claims that they managed to shoot down more than 100 drones.
Meanwhile, the cyber unit of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine attacked Russia's leading logistics company, the L-Trans Plus Group, which is among the top 10 largest customs and forwarding enterprises in the aggressor country. Ukrainians deactivated more than 700 servers and computers, disabled surveillance cameras, and deleted almost 200 terabytes of data. And now, on all the company's websites, Russian users are greeted with congratulations on the Day of the Armed Forces of Ukraine.
And our next story is about strikes by the defense forces on temporarily annexed Crimea. A special unit of the main intelligence directorate, the primary defense unit, destroyed a Russian multi-role MiG-29 fighter jet at the Kacha military airfield there.
And that same night, Ukraine struck near Simferopol at the Urtis airfield radar complex. How our special forces are systematically weakening Russian air defense, anti-aircraft missile systems, and now even the enemy's fighter aviation on the peninsula. Elvina Tsibulayeva will tell you more.
Confident and determined, the ghosts of our intelligence fly into temporarily occupied Crimea, targeting military units near Simferopol. A radar complex comes under attack. Next, a new target, the Kacha airfield near Sevastopol. Our forces destroy a MiG-29.
Today we are indeed able to effectively fly through the formidable Russian air defense system, successfully reaching their well-protected airfields and then precisely striking designated targets, specifically this advanced MiG-29. This highly versatile multi-role fighter aircraft truly allows the Russians to comprehensively control the vital airspace, to actively look deep into our sovereign airspace, to constantly threaten us and our valuable aerial firepower with their sophisticated countermeasures, posing a significant and ongoing challenge.
Although our defense forces are not physically present in Crimea yet, there are results. In the past 2 weeks, GUR fighters have struck 8 enemy military targets. Specifically, the targets hit included a Su-24 bomber, an antenna in a radome, a radar station, an Orion Strike UAV, 2 Podlian radar systems, a Russian army freight train, and in addition, a Ural truck.
The destruction of radars and radar systems is significant as these are quite expensive systems. That is, each of these systems can cost anywhere from tens to hundreds of millions of dollars for one thing. Secondly, some types of these radar systems simply cannot be quickly replaced or repaired.
Over the years of occupation, Russia has turned the Ukrainian peninsula into a military base. But the destroyed aircraft shows that the enemy does not fully control Crimea, and any equipment there is under threat of being hit.
The aircraft that Russia uses quite actively are those that are in fairly good technical condition. After all, out of the slightly more than 260 aircraft that Russia had at the beginning of 2023, we have to understand that a significant portion of them, up to 50%, may be in poor technical condition, and up to a third overall may even be unfit for use.
One of the key objectives is to destroy the Russian air defense system and deprive the occupiers of control over the skies.
Ukraine has military capabilities as well as economic and in fact psychological ones. Here it is the combination of all these capabilities that allows for such strikes to be delivered. This reduces the Russian potential in Crimea. This gives us the ability to fly further, for example, to our temporarily occupied Ukrainian Kuban and strike enemy oil refineries.
Elvina Tsibulayeva, My Ukraine Marathon, United News.
Near the coast of Bulgaria, the Kairos is sinking. This is a tanker from the Russian Shadow Fleet that was attacked by Ukrainian naval drones. The vessel ran aground and is slowly taking on water. The crew, 10 people, was evacuated by the Bulgarian Coast Guard. Turkish Coast Guard services tried to tow the damaged ship to their shore, but due to a severe storm, they were unsuccessful. 2 sanctioned tankers, Kairos and Virat, were attacked at the end of last week. The operation was carried out by units of the Security Service of Ukraine together with the Ukrainian Navy. Previously, both tankers sailed under the flag of Gambia. But after they were included in the sanctions lists, the Gambian authorities removed them from their national fleet registry. And this week, for the first time, tankers belonging to Russia's so-called Shadow Fleet were attacked in the Black Sea. Combined with our already systematic strikes on Russian oil refineries, this is a powerful blow to the enemy.
In addition, Europe may introduce a separate sanctions package against the Shadow Fleet before the new year. So what restrictions are already in place? How many tankers does this illegal flotilla have? And how significant will its loss be for the Russian military machine? Anna Brikova.
Russia's Shadow Fleet is under the sights of Western sanctions because it is through illegal ships that the Russians sell their oil after the embargo was implemented.
75% of seaborne crude oil exports are shadow fleets. That is, there is practically no non-shadow fleet. Why? Because, again, 70 to 80% of Russian oil exports go to India in first place, China in second, and Turkey in third.
And this fleet is being hunted. Currently, around 600 tankers are under sanctions, sailing under the flags of various countries. The restrictions are being imposed by the European Union, the United Kingdom, Canada, the United States, Australia, and New Zealand.
When a vessel is added to this list, countries that support the sanctions are prohibited from conducting any operations with that tanker. What does that mean? First and foremost, it means denying that tanker access to their own ports, as well as prohibiting the sale of parts needed to repair that very tanker.
Not only tankers fall under sanctions, but also infrastructure, insurance companies, oil traders, operators, ship owners, and even captains. Russia, meanwhile, is trying to find ways around this and is increasing the number of tankers to replace those that are on the sanctions lists.
Everything that Russia wants to do outside of control will be handled by the Shadow Fleet. That is, for everyone with whom there is no land border and accordingly no pipelines, it is all mostly the Shadow Fleet. And that's why it is important for Russia to maintain its presence on the global market.
By bypassing the price cap, according to some reports, the number of these tankers has already exceeded 1,200. Our partners are expanding the list of restrictions. In particular, the EU is considering them in its 20th sanctions package. If the package is not adopted this year, then the Shadow Fleet will be addressed in a separate list.
So, for example, if there are currently 526 tankers under sanctions, then in that same annex, the so-called de-annex annex to the general sanctions regime, another 50 or 100 positions are simply added.
In addition to the sanctions hunt for tankers, there is now also a shooting one. Because of this, insurance for vessels in the Black Sea has already increased by 250%. A vivid example was the attack on 2 Russian tankers, identified as part of the Shadow Fleet near the coast of Turkey. Interestingly, after this, Putin threatened Ukraine with retaliation.
First and foremost, Putin has in fact admitted that these are their vessels, their tankers, regardless of which flags they sail under. And that's already not bad. Moreover, this is an additional incentive to impose more sanctions against the Shadow Fleet of the Russian Federation.
Moreover, the Shadow Fleet of Russia is now at risk not only in the Black Sea area, as another tanker was attacked near Senegal. After this incident, at least one Turkish company is already winding down its operations with Russia.
When security risks escalate for particular maritime vessels, even if they are considerably aged, perhaps decades old, and in a very poor state of maintenance and operational condition, no one involved in the shipping industry or asset management is willing to simply abandon or lose a valuable and tangible liquid asset that can still consistently generate substantial and direct financial profit through its continued operation and utility despite its age and condition.
Because this isn't about politics, it's about money. Anna Brikova, We Are Ukraine. United News Marathon.
And our next story is about those who defended against enemy attacks last night, particularly in the Kyiv region. These are the warriors of the Air Defense Division.
They showed our Vladislav Palivoda the Predator, which they used to hunt Russian drones. Take a look.
While Ukrainians are going to bed, they work tirelessly. They study the enemy's new tactics, their weapons and targets to keep our cities and villages safe.
How can you strike residential buildings where civilians are resting? It's hard to talk about it.
And this work goes on 24/7.
At night we almost never sleep.
And only during the day do the soldiers sometimes have a bit of time to catch their breath and prepare the equipment for the next attack. They operate both Ukrainian-made weapons and Western ones provided by partners. This is one of the combat vehicles in the Ukrainian Air Defense Forces arsenal. This is the Gepard. The vehicle was received from Germany. Alexander operates this Predator. He joined the military on his own in 2022, and during this time he rose from platoon commander to battery commander.
Personally, I have shot down several dozen Shaheds. Unfortunately, I haven't destroyed any cruise missiles myself, since they haven't entered my area of responsibility.
Alexander is showing us firsthand what it's like to fight on a Gepard. The combat vehicle is equipped with 2 radars for detecting aerial targets at a distance of up to 15 kilometers and at an altitude of up to 3 kilometers.
In the front, this is the tracking radar here. At the back, this is the radar for detecting aerial targets. With the search radar, which is at the back of the combat vehicle, we detect them. Accordingly, the front radar takes them into automatic tracking.
The Gepard is capable of shooting down cruise missiles and attack drones. For this, it has powerful cannons that can quickly rotate 360 degrees and are capable of firing more than 500 rounds per minute.
Destruction is carried out directly by 2 cannons equipped with 35mm shells of various modifications. The shells are powerful, the shells are explosive. So if this combat vehicle has already locked onto a target and is tracking it, the target has very little chance of getting through.
The crew of the vehicle consists of 3 people.
This is the driver's seat. From here, the vehicle is directly controlled, including moving out to the position. There are 2 people directly in the turret. These are the commander and the gunner, where the entire process of detecting and directly destroying aerial targets takes place.
There are these kinds of marks on the turret of the Gepard. These represent the aerial targets shot down by this very vehicle. On both sides, I counted at least 24 Shaheds and 2 cruise missiles. However, this Predator has shot down many more targets than that, says the soldier.
At first, after each successful engagement, we would mark the kills on the turret, but over time, so many targets have been shot down that, honestly, there just isn't enough space left on the combat vehicle.
We can't disclose how many Gepards are defending the Ukrainian sky. However, the soldiers say they are working effectively.
It is precisely these systems, which operate using the artillery channel, that are effective against Shaheds, Gerans, and similar types of enemy aerial threats.
The main targets of the enemy remain Ukraine's civilian infrastructure, particularly our energy sector. And the enemy is not only trying to increase the number of attacks, but also to change tactics.
This is clear to us. We read the enemy and take measures to ensure they do not achieve their goal.
The military urges people not to film the work of air defense and to respond to air raid alerts. Vladislav Palivoda, Yevhen Olinsky, We Are Ukraine. Marathon, United News.